I recently did a Temu haul, so I had a few new molds, but I have one that I specifically need to make, and I thought it's an awesome day for characters. Let's go play. Hello everyone and welcome to NERDGOBLIN Art. I'm Lula. Right, I had some new molds come recently in a Temu haul, specifically the three on the left, and I did this one the other day. You know, he looks knitted. Is it a hamster? I don't know. It's a creature, but he's cool, and I want to pour him in resin. Now, we all know Duck-a-dile. I've done him previously, but I've got an order, so we're going to make that up today as well. So I've said so twice. You know, it's no good, is it? No good. I've also got this little snail that I'd really like to have a look at. He's so diddly and so sweet. And I found this in my tub, holographic. It's a cheap and cheerful one, I think, from Temu. And I figured, why not? Let's have a go of it. So I'm just gonna burnish this in, and we'll add some black. I said that weird, didn't I? Black. Dear me. Some black pigment powder to some resin in a bit. I am very aware that this is a very small little snail, and he has his antennas and little feeler things, whatever, you know, it's like double thing, I don't know. But I love snails, and yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about those. Now, the Duck-a-dile. Awesome mold. And when I did the last one, within that week, it went into the shop that I have a space in, the Craft Emporium in Newport. Yeah, scary looking, isn't it? And 15 minutes into the shop being opened, Duck-a-dile was sold, and the person who bought it requested another one, but that it looked like an actual rubber ducky. So I'm like, cool, but I haven't for some reason gotten around to doing it, and because I had other character molds, I'm like, yeah, this is cool, we'll do that. So I've just used some orange Let's Resin mica powder, and as you can see, I'm burnishing it in, and what I'm trying to do is dust it out, so it's not like just a fine line, you know what I mean, so it kind of disappears a little bit. I don't want a hard line, basically, if you know what I mean. So I might lose a little bit of it now while I attempt to put it back into place. It looks so weird, doesn't it, like this? So in it goes, ready, pop. It was actually a very nice pop sound that it made. I should have kept that in, but here we are. So just making sure that there's none of that orange in other places. So he's good to go. And the other pieces that I'm going to be making today require the Create and Bloom. But for that, we need to make up some resin. So what does that mean? Magic. Ta-da! So there we are. I'm going to make up some resin now, and here are my cups. 2 cups on the go today, which is useful for the Resiners dual head mixer, and I like to work in fluid ounces. I just find it a lot easier, and I'm using mould. I like starting off with B, and that's because the fluidity is a lot easier, comes out better than the actual resin part A. Yeah, so there we go, and I am making up 6 ounces in each cup today. It's probably going to be, I think it was a pretty good guesstimate. I didn't have to do a great deal of extras. So I'm using a dual head mixer, as I said, from Resiners. They very, very kindly sent it to me, and I've had it for ages now, and I absolutely love it. So for the Duck-a-dile, I'm going to be using Honeycomb from Create and Bloom. It is a beautiful, very beautiful pigment. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the hamster guy, but for the cats, you saw a quick glimpse of the cats the other day when I couldn't remember what it was. I'm going to be using offshore something. Well, I'll show you what they're called in a minute. I think in Zimmer, something like that. It's a pink and a blue, but the blue has a bit of a shimmer to it, which is really, really, really lovely. This is nicely mixed up now. And just to save on time, I just replace with older cups that I might have forgot to clean out or didn't clean out because they might have a split in the side, but they're perfect just for catching the extra resin while I'm busy with actually making things until I clean it up afterwards. But of course the paddles are silicone, so if you do forget, which I have often done, you can get it removed off later on. The mix is looking really good. You always need to check for striations and stir around the sides and bottom just to make sure it is really well mixed in. Usually I would continue to use the mixer, but I want to have a try with the pigments in my debubbler and just to see how well it does. So I'm going to purposely, there you go, Honeycomb from Create and Bloom. I am going to purposely introduce bubbles just because I want to see how well it takes with the pigments. I've not tried any yet in the debubbler, so we'll see how it goes. If you do happen to buy pigments such as this, always make sure you stir them up before introducing them to your resin, only because the pigment can sink and separate a little bit. This stuff is absolutely beautiful. You don't need much of it at all. Very small amount and you really get a gorgeous colour. Look at that. I'm also going to pop in some Super Sparkle White. I got this from Tracy at Mini Scenes GB. Anything I use today, where possible, will be linked in the description box below. And don't forget as well, I do have a discount code for Resiners, and I'll share that with you shortly when we have a look at the debubbler. So that's gone in there nicely. I'm not really sure why I've added the Super Sparkle White, because I know it's a matte mould and I don't want to, but you know, it will give a little bit. I've just switched to a lollipop stick only because I love my stirrers, but I could see some pigment right down the bottom of my cup and I couldn't quite, you know, shape it enough to get to it. So there you go. And what's the good thing is lollipop sticks are porous, so they can introduce extra bubbles too. So on to the next one. Just taking out a little bit more resin, and I'm going to split this one. So I want to do two different colours. Now, one of my subscribers, Renee, said the other day that it looked like a space cat. When I mixed it, I was doing the sea turtle from Let's Resin, and I was like, oh, I really want to make it look like, you know, like a space cat with the, you know, with the lovely atmosphere type thing. I forgot the name. It's gone from my head. It might pop back into my head in a minute. So I'm splitting the cut and I'm going to be putting the Offshore Wave, and it has a really lovely shimmer to it, and I'm hoping that that'll come through. Again, these are all, except the snail, these are all matte molds, and I don't mind that. If it's not your preference, you can always coat them in UV resin afterwards, or even use a gloss varnish. You know, I'm one of those who I don't tend to mind. Zinnia is the pink one. I don't tend to mind matte molds. I think they're perfect for a lot of things. I absolutely adore this pink. it reminds me of bubble gum, like Hubba Bubba, the strawberry one. I've used it a couple of times now, and it really is a gorgeous, gorgeous pink. And I think with the offshore wave, I think it's gonna look really, really, really cool. I like the idea of them together. Now that I'm happy with the mix, those are gonna go in my debubbler. And my discount code is NERDGOBLIN, and that gets you 15% off, and it is well worth using. I'm not kidding about this machine. I really, really like it, and I only put those 3 in for 5 minutes, and you'll see in a minute when I do bring the resin into shot, it looks really good. Look at that. And I mix that by hand, you know, after the initial mix with the actual mixer I stirred in with the pigment. And it goes in, look at it, it looks gorgeous. So because the mica powder that I burnished in was kind of out of the way, I didn't mind pre-spraying this mould with some isopropyl alcohol. And of course, filling it halfway and giving it a little bit of a squeeze as well. Now, as you know, I have poured this mould before, and there's lots of little bits of detail in there, so it is worth giving it a pre-spray with some isopropyl alcohol because of the detail, regardless of using the debubbler. And I'm also, just as a reminder, don't forget to wear the correct PPE. I'm wearing a mask, and I'm also wearing gloves and an apron. You know, you don't want to get the stuff on your clothes, you'll ruin them, unless you're in scrufties and you don't tend to mind, but then it could still soak through to your skin and you can develop allergies to the stuff, so just be careful and be aware. So with the cat one, now this is 3 cats piled on top of each other. It is super cute. I poured it the other day with my sea turtle because I got it from Temu and I couldn't remember where I ordered, and I sometimes like to not look at the order and just pour it just to have a surprise, because that's really cool. So I just used the lollipop stick to dip down to try and mix the colours up a little bit before filling it further to the top, and that's just to give it like an occasion not to mix, so to speak, but I don't know, but you know, I like doing it, it works for me. And just making sure as well that I was, because there is detail in here, so there's ears, there's 3 sets of ears, there's 3 sets of noses and eyes, you know, so give it a little squeeze just to encourage. And I'm just getting a piece of card, well, heavier cardstock. This particular mould is the sort that really likes to stick to your silicone mat, and it is difficult to move it around and be able to pick it up and give it a little wobble and such. So putting card under them is really good, and sometimes these type of moulds can damage silicone mats, but this silicone mat that I use is a heat resistant kitchen sort, so I've not had a problem so far, but I'd rather not take the chance because I like this mat and it's lasted me quite a while so far. So the hamstery type guy, there's another, I think there's another animal, but I can't think of what it could be called. I'm just going to be topping this one up with honeycomb. No rhyme or reason why. Just figured, you know, because it looks like it's the impression that it's been knitted, and I quite like the idea of a yellow knitted one. So there you go. So those are poured, and the next one to do, well, the kind of the lastish one to do, is the snail, and I'll be adding my usual black mica powder to that. Excuse any tip tapping, because a certain little doggy has decided to have a tap dance. I do forget to show you on screen the what I'm using in the snail, but it's just the usual black mica that I prefer to use. But again, I will pop that down in the description box. I get it from Amazon. It's not sponsored or anything. There's no discount, but it lasts me ages, and it is proper black, you know, because when you do get like the black one from Let's Resin, it's got a bit of a shimmer to it, so sometimes it's nice just to have the pure black colour. I'm using this colour because of the holographic powder that I've put in the snail. I am a little bit concerned about the antennae on him. I think it was a mistake brushing in the powder, but we'll see when it comes to demoulding. But that is nice. I don't have a load of resin left over, but I will do some extras, which I forgot to record. So I pulled out the favourites, the cats, and I only had enough of the black and mixed it with a little bit of the offshore wave. But that looks beautiful. That honeycomb is so pretty. I just love these cat moulds. They're so lovely. So you can see the little bit of the blue in the bottom of the cat, but what I should have done was I should have put that in first and then added the black, because it's just pure black on the back. And that's not a problem. I have a black cat called Binks, and you know. So I was about to open the snail one, and I remembered that I also poured the mini baby axolotl, and I can see there that when I poured it, I completely forgot to make sure it went down into his gills, and he's gillless. His flips are gone. His flaps, his flirps are not there. But that's okay. I know that that's a problem area when I do come to pouring that mould again. So this one, it didn't come out too badly actually. I did think I was going to have a bit of issue, only because I've struggled in the past with the larger version. But as I thought, I have got, he has no antennae. But that's okay, we can fix it. Not too impressed with the powder pigment. I know it's from Temu and it's like the nail arty stuff, but it really isn't. It just looks silver. It doesn't look holographic at all. So out comes this guy. We'll do him first. And I do really like these molds, these pink ones. They're so soft. But check him out. Doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. He's really lovely. He looks really nice in that yellow, doesn't he? Or honeycomb, that's the actual name of the pigment. And we'll do the cats next. And I remembered the word I was looking for, constellation. But that's, hey, look at that. Check that out. Oh my goodness, he's winking at us. That is stunning. I don't think it picks up on screen that there is a shimmer in that offshore wave. Kind of wish that I put some of that super sparkle white into the pink as well, but you know, you live and learn. It's getting there. I quite like that idea. And to this guy, who is a specific make that's gonna be off to the shop tomorrow, and so far I'm happy. It's definitely yellow like a duck. But oh my goodness. That has turned out absolutely awesome. Do you see what I mean now by not wanting a hard line of that orange? I was chuckling. You can see me jiggling. I was chuckling. I'm really pleased with the way the bill, so to speak, has turned out, with the way it looks like it teeters off. I really like that. So I'm going to use these lovely acrylic markers. It's called Sim Tap from Arrtx, and we're just going to use the black and the whites just to do their eyes. Now, as you know, I often like to use my Posca markers, but very often, because of the shape of the tips, I have to like push down on them on my card and then use a micro brush, especially for these smaller eyes, specifically on like these types of cats. But these type of makes, the cats, like, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But because of the lovely tipped brush on these pens, not an issue at all. And that was quite quick. It was quite nice not to actually have to, you know, faff about with getting some of the, you know, the ink onto my mat and then using the micro brush. Nice. I'm also going to give this guy like button, they look like he's got button eyes. They're really cute. Really like that. Nice and easy, and he's really sweet. And the Duck-a-dile's eyes are a little bit bigger, which is nice. And I decided to go right down into the recess with the black, and I think it looks really good. Thank you to my subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It's the tip, it's a little tick of a button, and it costs absolutely nothing, and it helps my channel grow. Thank you also to my members. I do have a membership, so if you're interested, you can hit the join button. It's only $3.99 a month, and you get a bunch of extras, which is always very nice. And I also have coffees. I'll just pop that up on the screen now. And thank you so much for those who have bought me any coffees and memberships. Everything I make on the channel goes straight back in, which is awesome. So I'm just using the white now to go and give them a little bit of life in those eyes. I also added a cream type colour to the bobbin. I'm not quite sure what to call that. And then added some white on top. I've decided, I did consider doing it to the rest of the hat as well, just around the lining, but I decided that it might look a bit too, you know, on the Christmassy side. So just giving it to that part there, and giving, you know, a little press of the button on the top of the pen. It introduces some fresh acrylic paint down into the nib. So that's what I'm using now, just to give the Duck-a-dile his little teeth, because they're so cute. I did consider leaving them as the yellow, but no, I think they look brilliant with that white. And these pens dry really quickly, which is really good as well. And after they had a little dry for a couple of minutes, I just gone back in with another dot of white, just to make sure it is lovely and bright. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix the snail. He needs his antennas, otherwise, you know, he can't feel where he's going and stuff like that. So I'm going to use some UV resin, and I'm using my preferred go-to, which is JDiction, and it's the hard type. Really like using this one. And because it's daytime, I'm just putting a cup on top of the little blob that I've put on my desk, so I can just keep going back and forth. So I first popped in some of the UV resin into the holes where the feelers should have been, and then get my silicone tool stuck to it. Did get it away eventually. And then when you first cue that with the torch, you can then start building it up, and you tease up, as you could see there, I'm using my silicone tool to gently tease the resin upwards, and then you can make it, you know, as long as you like. That's what she said. Or you can keep it like a little bit shorter and then introduce a little bit of a ball shape on the end. You can do it. You just need to be patient, but you also need to be a little bit quick. You know, the back and forth I'm doing there and just moving the torch away and then coming back again. You know, you pick it up. You know, look it. It's better than not having them, isn't it? To be fair, I'd rather him have them than none at all. I don't want him to go, you know, in my trash box. When I say trash box, don't worry, nothing goes in the actual, you know, bin. It goes in a tub for filler if I need for any bigger projects. And this guy's gonna live on my desk. I quite like him. I absolutely adore snails. Used to have African land snails. I think I've said it before, but I used to, and they were so interesting and lovely. But check that out. They didn't take too long. I'm aware I sped it up because of the using of the light and stuff, but literally it took me less than 8 minutes. I'm going to say 8 minutes. I'm not going to say 5 because of the, you know, using the light. It did take a bit. And I noticed that it had a little bubble under like his chin area. Not that snails have chins, I don't think, but you get what I mean. And that's what I've done there. Just put a little blob in there and he no longer has that. I'm also going to be resining the eyes. I think even on the more matte moulds, if you're colouring the eyes, I do think the finish with UV resin is better than not. And it gives a little bit of life to the model, basically. It gives a nice shine and it gives it a bit of protection. I haven't used these for the longest time, the pens, because I've only had them delivered about a week ago. So I haven't been able to try out the sustainability of them. It says permanent on there, and I'm sure it probably is. Acrylic paint tends to be pretty good, but I'll stand by that any resin make, whether it's a shiny mould or a matte one, just simply look better with a UV covering on the eyes, because it really does bring the thing to life. And it wasn't too bad doing this cat one. It's very tiny little dots and it is so cute. Look at him. Oh my goodness, it is so, oh, I love it. Look at his little paws dangling down and their little tails. I really, really love that. Ooh, it's so pretty. I do like that one. And finally for Duck-a-dile. Little bit on his eyes. It doesn't take much at all. You can see there I'm just using a dot and just carefully, you know, use your silicone tool and move it around. And then just blast it with your torch, and just to be on the safe side as well, so you don't get any stickiness, you can always pop it under a lamp for a nice 5 minutes, or if it's a nice sunny day, pop it outside, you know, pop it out in a sunspot in your garden maybe, and you know, the natural UV resin can do its work, because nobody likes sticky eyes. I am really, really pleased with this. I'm so pleased that a customer in the shop requested it, because I'm not sure it's something I would have really thought, even though it obviously it does seem like the best idea. I'm not sure I would have thought about it. Not really, I would have just kept thinking about it in the sense of it being a crocodile. And there's the, I'm not sure the camera's picking it up, but I'm just trying to show that there's that shimmer. It's so pretty. I love the way that the fur goes from the pink on their faces into the blue. It is really lovely. I'm gonna have another play with, gonna have plenty of plays with that one. And I was curious in regards to this one. I wasn't sure if it was finished, so I thought I'll use a bit of the rub and bath, only small bits of it, just to pick up like the outside parts, because you know you sometimes get knitted items. Well, I used to anyway. I remember as a child my nan used to knit everything for us, and she'd buy like special wool which had like the bits of gold and stuff, so there'd be that little flecks of gold in there. And I thought, well, why not? Let's see what it looks like. It's worth a try. And if I don't really like it, a little bit of isopropyl alcohol will get it off. I'm not sure. I kind of wish I hadn't bothered. I think he probably looked fine without it. But it's interesting. It's interesting to give it a try. And this was my first try of the Arrtx markers on an actual epoxy resin piece and not the magic pour. And although I only used it very small eye details, it still worked perfectly well. And check him out. Look, it looks like he's like a go fast snail. Whoosh, like that, he's gone. They did go a little bit one way. So I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you're inspired. Stay beautifully weird.
In a room full of colors and swirls, Nerd Goblin art draws a magic world, with foxes that prance and badgers that dance, a whirlwind of dreams with a single glance. Gerald the alligator grins so wide, in enchanted waters he loves to hide. Dragons breathe wonder with flames so bright, each creature born from a magic night. Nerd Goblin paints life in every brush, animals frolic in a vibrant rush. From canvases to tales they leap, in a realm where fantasy meets deep. The studio's alive with swirling paint, creatures so pure